Welcome everybody, it's Duncan here. This video is going to be a short and simple video explaining how to get Blender and how to use the basic tools of Blender. Now, this video is also for those who have Blender but haven't used it yet, and also for those who are planning or who want to get Blender. Now, before we begin, I would like to show you the basic tools, which is like your laptop, your desktop, and the specs you need in order to run Blender on your PC or laptop. These are the basic hardware requirements for Blender. This is the minimum requirements for Blender, and this is the recommended requirements for Blender. The minimum requirements for Blender, usually, I've tried it out myself, usually tend to limit what you can do with Blender. You still have the tools in Blender, and like Blender is still the same for any laptop or any desktop you use. It will still have the same add-ons, the same tools in Blender, but usually the minimum requirements for Blender tend to limit you on the things you can use because your desktop or your laptop cannot handle the things it does. So I would recommend you get the recommended requirements for Blender, which are the ones on the right here. And once you have that, you are somewhat set, now for the next step on how to actually install Blender. Now, the first thing to do is obviously go to your browsing, your browser. You go to your browser, not your browsing. You go to your browser. Any browser will suffice. Chrome, Microsoft Edge, doesn't really matter. And you search Blender download. After you've searched Blender download, you go to the first link you see, literally the first link on top. And usually it should say and must say, but then it differs as I say. But I usually select this one. It's Blender and Softonic.com, aka download Blender free latest version, and it will always show the latest version or whatever version is released or was released at that time you watch this video. You click on it and it will open the website, and after the website is open, it will show you Blender and it will always download the latest version, as I said, and you press the free download and it will automatically by default download onto your desktop. And once you have that downloaded, you have Blender. Once you have downloaded Blender, this is the first thing you're gonna see on your screen. This is just there to show you what version you have, what's cooking in Blender, and usually your new files will have general 2D animation, sculpting, VFX, and video editing, and you'll have your recent files right here. But because you are a new Blender user, you won't have any recent files on your recent files window. So generally I don't use 2D and VFX and video editing files, but the general file is usually where majority of Blender users start. And once you've clicked on your general file, you will have this scene open. This is just your user perspective scene. This is your default camera, this is your default cube, and this is your default light. And if you want to rotate around your user perspective, you have to press your middle mouse button. Your middle mouse button allows you to rotate on your X, Y, and Z axis. And if you hold Shift middle mouse button, it will allow you to move around your user perspective in all the three axes, Z, Y, and X axis. And if you want to know the names of the things in your scene, you go to your scene collection window, which is at your top right corner, which is right here. It says scene collection, and it has literally everything, like everything you make on your user perspective scene will pop up right here. And as it says, lights will be your light, cube will be the default cube that you get when you first open your Blender scene, and your camera is your default camera. This icon right next to your objects in your scene simply is there to show you what is it that you see in your scene. So if I practically close that eye, you don't see it anymore, and that goes for anything that you have default and you have made in your scene. All you have to do is just press it again and your object will appear once more on your scene. And as I said, middle mouse button is to rotate around. Shift middle mouse button is to move around your scene. But there's another way in order to do this, and that is to go to your viewport perspective. And this shows you everything you need to know, and it's right here on the top right corner of your user perspective view, which is practically this little blue, green, red Z, X, and Y thingy right here. It'll allow you to rotate in all three axes. And in order to have a clean view of your perspective, like your front view, your side view, and your top view, 1 on your number pad will give you your front view, 3 will give you your right view, and 7 will give you your top view. Now let's go front view and go back there. As I said, 1 on your numpad is the front view, 3 on your numpad is your side view, and 7 is your top view. And now let's say you want to move this particular object alone. You simply have to click on the object, press G on your keyboard, and you practically can move it around wherever you see fit. And if you don't want to move this object and you have selected it by mistake, you simply, while selected the object, simply just press the right mouse button, and that will undo whatever you just did. But let's say you have pressed G and you've pressed the left mouse button and you don't want that particular mesh to be over there. And this is a very important key, and it's also going to be your best friend. All you have to do is press Ctrl Z to undo whatever you just did. Literally, Ctrl Z is an undo button. You can undo all the bad things you did. And now for some extra information. If by chance you have deleted your mesh that you've had there, as I said, you have Ctrl Z to undo whatever you did, but there is another particular way. Let's say you have deleted your mesh and you want a new mesh on your new empty scene. Shift A will allow you to open your mesh window. It'll allow you to open your mesh window, curve, surface, metaball, text, volume, and grease pencil, and etc. And once you go to your mesh view, you have your plane, you have cube, circle, UV sphere, sorry about that, cylinder, cone, and torus. And let's say Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. There's another way to add other meshes or default meshes, is to go to the icon on your top left corner, and voila, you have your window that allows you to add other meshes. G, and voila. And if you want to undo that, as I said, Control Z, Control Z. And now if you want to go into the edit mode and edit your vertices, your edges, and your faces, you simply, and this is a hotkey, press Tab on your keyboard. Tab allows you to go to the edit mode, or you can go to this window option on your top left corner which says object mode, press the arrow, and voila, you have your object mode, edit mode, sculpt mode, vertex point, weight paint, and every other, oh, it's not vertex point, sorry, it's vertex paint as well. So you have every other options you need. Go to edit mode and you have these three icons here. This icon, simply as it says vertex select, it allows you to select the vertexes, or in short, the points of your mesh. Every point of your mesh will have this weird little black dot, which is your vertex, and you can click it, press G, and it allows you to grab it and move it around in any formal way. Control Z in order to undo. This little icon allows you to click on the edges of your mesh, and this other icon allows you to click the faces of your mesh. And just as well with the object mode, you can grab your particular face and you literally really just move it around. And same with the edges, you can grab them using G and move them around, Control Z. And your vertexes, you can grab them using G and move them around and move them into wherever you see fit. The hotkeys for the edit mode and the different other modes like the vertex mode, edge, and face mode is 1 on your keyboard. 1 will allow you to go into the vertex mode in which we are in now. 2 will allow you to go to your edge mode, and 3 will allow you to go into your face mode. So 1 is vertex mode, 2 is edge mode, 3 is face mode. And now press tab in order to go to the object mode again. In the next video, I'm going to be showing you how to make a low poly scene in Blender. Well, it's more gonna be a low poly asset, like a low poly tree, a low poly grass, low poly plants, flowers, and low poly rocks. And I'm going to utilize a lot of hotkeys, in which is used majority of the time when people are making high poly and low poly assets. And for those who might not know what a low poly asset is, I have some images here. This is some examples of low poly assets and trees and environment. We are going to be learning how to practically make all of these in Blender, and using a lot of the hotkeys. I will, at the end of this video, give you a small list of every basic hotkey a beginner needs in order to truly know Blender at the beginning, like, you know, because everybody has to start somewhere, and I feel low poly assets are best way to start, you know, 3D modeling, because, you know, you don't start at the advanced stuff when you just start a career or anything basic. You don't start at the best thing. You always must start at the easiest thing and build up your talents and increase them in order to make high poly or make the best of your abilities. So we're gonna utilize that, and I will be giving you a lot of the hotkeys in which are needed or I might have missed in Blender, and I will have a small description next to those hotkeys saying what it does, what it's used for. And thank you for watching my video, and please like and subscribe my video, leave a comment, and if you want to know how to model particular stuff in Blender, if you're already a Blender user, me personally, I am quite a good low poly asset maker. So I will read the comments and I will explain on how I make particular low poly objects. So as I say again, like and subscribe please.